In this video, I'll show you how to use pivot tables so you can analyze your neighborhoods a bit more if you're still trying to figure out how to narrow down which neighborhoods you want to study. Now, you may have used Google to identify popular neighborhoods for your city or region, which is totally fine. And then you'll just clean up your file and only focus on those neighborhoods. Or you can use Excel to help narrow down the neighborhoods based on some information. So I'm just going to highlight the variables I'm interested in. So our neighborhood that's cleansed. And I like this example with Montreal because, as you can see, some of the neighborhood names are in another language. So you still have to use Google and some secondary research to clean up the real neighborhood names. Let's see, what else do we want? You might be interested in property type or real bed. And I want to give you some examples of qualitative versus quantitative analysis. Let's say we want price. Maybe we want accommodations. And last one, let's do cancellation policy. So I'm going to show you some examples of how you can do pivot tables to organize your information by neighborhood. Let's do some of the qualitative analysis first. So qualitative, right? These are categories. So first I'm going to do insert, and I'm going to choose pivot table. And so Excel's going to select all of your data, and we'll have our table appear in a new worksheet. So go ahead and click OK. And so what I will first do is for our neighborhood, I'm going to hold this and drag and drop it into rows. And it'll create a nice list for me for my neighborhoods right here on the left. Okay. Note when you click away, the pivot table window sometimes disappears. Just click back into it, it'll reappear. Okay. Another thing I'll do is I'm going to take this neighborhood cleansed. I'm also going to drag and drop it into values. And you'll notice here at the top, it's labeled count of neighborhood. So what the pivot table has done is now counted how many rentals are in our data set by neighborhood. And that'll be helpful if, let's say, you want to narrow it down to very popular locations that have a lot of Airbnb travelers. So to sort this, I'm going to right click on any of the values in our table and do sort large to small. And so you can see these first 5 or 6 locations have a high number of Airbnb rentals. Now, if you want, you can make a bar chart out of this by all the different neighborhoods. If you just click in here and do insert bar chart, you have a bar chart that appears here. It's not the most useful because, as you can see, a lot of the neighborhoods are very small, so it's very hard to see. But that's an option for you if you want. If you want to focus a chart on just the top venues, then what you would do is you can copy your data, copy, and put it out here and paste it. And if you double click on that, it just opens it bigger. And then you can create a chart based on this set of data. And I find this is a little bit easier to see. So if you wanted to make a chart of your most popular neighborhoods and how many Airbnb rentals there are. So I'll go ahead and close that out. So here we've got our Airbnb data with our count of rentals. Let's look at the qualitative data. We wanted property type. So for instance, if I take property type and drag and drop it into the rows, what you now see is by neighborhood, it breaks out the different property types, and you can see the numbers in here. Another option you can do if you want to filter, so take this property type, drag it into the filters option up here, and if you click on the drop down here and select multiple items, uncheck all, and then now let's say I only want to look at condos, apartments, and houses. And if I hit OK, now what is done is the count has changed, and the count only shows the 3 types that I chose. And if I'm curious and I want to see, that filter should still be there. But if I drag and drop it down here with the filter, now you can see the 3 types that we're interested in: apartment, condos, and houses, and it breaks out the count for you. This should total up to our value here, and I can double check. Yes, it is 1926. And so that lets you do some analysis with a category, in this case, apartment or condo and house types. In this case, it's the property type. I can do the same with bed type or cancellation fees. So the same process would apply. You can drag and drop your category into the filters, filter it down to a specific type that you're interested in, and then drop it back into rows, and it will give you a count. Now let's do a different pivot table that is focused on quantitative data. So if I go insert and we'll do a new fresh pivot table, it selects everything. I will hit OK. So you see it's a brand new pivot table. It's a new tab. I will again drop my neighborhood cleanse down. So there's my list of the neighborhoods. I'm going to drop it over in values and it counts it for me. I'm going to right click and sort it to large to small. So again, I'm organizing my data so I can just focus on the top few. And then if we do a quantitative value such as price, so if I take price and I'm going to drag and drop it into my values here, notice that Excel tries to guess what you want. This one, it thinks you want the sum of the price. We don't. It's not really useful. So I'm going to click on sum and then choose the average. I want the pivot table to calculate the average price per night by neighborhood. So if I click OK, it has now calculated the average price, and I'm going to go and select this, and under my number formatting, I'm going to make it money. So I'll click on the dollar sign right here, and now I have the average price per night by neighborhood. And I can create some charts with this. Again, I'd have to like copy paste what I want over here to then create a chart. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's say I want to do a chart on price. So I can do insert and do a bar chart. So there's my bar chart. I add some labels. And so now I have a nice chart with my most popular neighborhoods and the average price per night. And so this might be part of your descriptive statistics for part 2, or this might just be your preliminary analysis. So you can decide, hey, I want to study Villa Marie because it's a more expensive neighborhood and I want to open up a high-end restaurant. So you can use pivot tables to do some of the analysis for you so you don't have to. You'll want to play around with with pivot tables and practice dragging and dropping different data into the different quadrants here and seeing how it might appear. So if you have any questions, just let me know.